Have you been experiencing some drama lately? Are you getting pulled into the rescuer role a lot with people? Stay tuned for a refreshed perspective on the dreaded drama triangle and how you can transform it into the empowerment dynamic. Hi, Shannon Waller here, and welcome to Team Success. Today, I want to revisit something that we've talked about, or I have talked about once before, which is the Karpman drama triangle and David Emerald's brilliant transformation into something called the empowerment dynamic. And I have just seen a lot of stress, a lot of trauma happening in various teams, ones that I'm a part of, ones that I have been coaching, you name it, it's kind of around right now. So because it's relevant to me, I thought it might also be relevant to you. So just to make sure you're really clear on the terminology, and it's not difficult to understand. Yes, there are some great images online. I suggest you go look them up. And I totally suggest that you get David Emerald's book called The Power of TED. And TED does not stand for TED Talks. It stands for the empowerment dynamic. So what Karpman discovered, or actually uncovered is probably a better way, is that in human relations, there is a very common pattern. And the pattern is there is someone who feels like a victim, and they feel like there's a persecutor who is causing them to be a victim. And then there's another person who is what's known as the rescuer. Hence the triangle: victim, persecutor, rescuer. Now, raise your hand if you've ever felt like a victim. Something was being done to you. Then also keep your hand raised if someone has accused you of being the one doing the doing. You've been the one accused, like, oh, you've done this to me. And a role that I find leaders fall into, it's a trap really, far, far too often, is in fact being the rescuer. So raise your hand if you are also occasionally feel like a rescuer, or sometimes more than occasionally. And I do think as we go into leadership roles, it is very easy because you see people struggling, you see people having difficulty, and you want to help them out. Now, I'm a fan of empathy, so don't get me wrong. But if we really sympathize with someone and they know that we feel their pain, but we don't help them transform the situation, we are in that rescuer role. I'm not an automaton. I can feel what other people are feeling, but also it's really important that we help people get out of the situation and find a different way to transform it and find a way to transform the circumstances and their own role in it so that they can experience more agency. They can have a sense of optimism and autonomy and being in charge of it. And I love this expression, so that their experience is not that it's happening to them, but instead, how can they have the situation happen for them? Very powerful. One is externally motivated and sourced, and the other is internal sourcing. That is a much more powerful place from which to come. So what David Emerald discusses in his, again, brilliant book, The Power of TED, is that, in fact, they can flip it. And actually, a big shout out to Adrian Duffy for introducing me to the concept, and to David and helping to arrange the interview I did with him. So I will link my podcast. I have an author interview with David, which I'm going to link because I highly, strongly recommend you go and jump on this one right away and share it, because I think there's probably some people in your life that could benefit from it. But what he talks about is, again, us stepping into this other way of looking at things. It's easy to remember because there are 3 C's. So instead of victim, persecutor, and rescuer, you acknowledge that you're a creator or co-creator of the circumstance. So maybe you were just there. Maybe you put yourself in the situation. Maybe there's some part of it where you went, oh yeah, I might have contributed to this a little bit, this situation that you're finding disempowering. So acknowledging that we are the creator of our circumstances is, you might say, okay, I didn't make that decision, but you are part of the deal. You're one of the parties involved in that circumstance. So just acknowledging that we are the creators of our own life. And he also uses the term co-creator, which means you can have another person there, you can have the divine, you can put anyone else in that co-seat that you want, but basically there's a co-creation aspect of this. Then the situation, instead of being persecutor, it's a challenge, or there's a challenger. Obviously it's forcing you out of what you were doing before, out of the status quo, out of your comfort zone, what have you. But challenger is a much, much more neutral word than persecutor. Persecutor is something that's coming at you with knives and sharp sticks and fire and bad things, right? So challenger is like, okay, that's interesting. This is definitely a challenge for me. Great. And when you hear this, you'll laugh because you're like, of course, this is your favorite word, Shannon. Instead of rescuer, the word is coach. Yes. And this goes along with Dan saying that coaching is to the 21st century what management was to the 20th. So coach is someone who supports and assists, does not rescue, which is also means they don't just polarize with the situation. They look at it from every point of view. They help people understand, oh, okay, hey, what action can you take? This isn't only being done to you. What action can you take? So a little more definition. So with creator, you own the power to choose and respond, and you focus on outcomes, not just how you're feeling. And the message to yourself is, I can do it, right? You're the little engine that could, which I think is fantastic. Okay, challenger. The challenger is someone who calls forth learning and growth, provokes and evokes action. Galvanize is another word for this. You're like, oh, I was perfectly happy doing what I was doing, but you're, provoking me to do something else. Okay. Sometimes we have to be willing to be provoked. It's conscious and constructive versus unconscious and destructive. And the message here is you can do it. I have a lot of friends, and one of the owners of our company and some of our very best coaches have this galvanizing capacity. And when people are using their powers for good, which is what I want all of us to always be doing, this is like, you can do it. And you're like, oh, really? I can? Okay. So it's that kind of provoking, I like that word, provoking you to do something different than you were otherwise doing. And then the coach supports and assists and facilitates clarity by asking questions. How will you do it? So the messages here are quite different. It's I can do it, you can do it, and how will you do it? And it's interesting because you'll notice that the power, the question is always about that person, about that individual. It could also be a team, because it's like, oh, okay, I'm not taking power or control away from you. We're actually having you realize it is with you. You have authority, you have agency, you have imagination about how you can handle this. And that is so much more useful. And that's why it's called the empowerment dynamic, because it is literally empowering you. It is charging you up with creativity and ideas and support and validation, all good things. And so this is so useful and so profound, really, when it comes to leadership, because sometimes people will consider us to be the persecutor, especially if we're telling them to do something they don't want to do, or we're giving them some bad news. Sometimes our teammates can feel like victims, stuff's being done to them. Sometimes we can be very tempted to want to go in and rescue people. Even though I'm very well aware of this model, I still fall into this trap relatively often. I frustrate myself when I do that. Hopefully I can pull myself out quickly. I don't want to go in the gap about it, but it is one of those things where it's like, sometimes I'm very clearly in the coaching role, and other times, especially if it's someone I'm really, really close to, or I've been working with them for a really long time or what have you, it's so easy for me to want to do that. And I want to be an empathetic listener, and I want to have them feel heard. And then all of a sudden, like, oh my gosh, I just talked myself into rescuing them. What am I doing? What's interesting is when I'm working with my clients who I see less frequently, right? So every 2 months or every 3 months, I don't get into the trap of rescuing them. I know I'm not going to see them for 89 out of the 90 days. So I can coach. I don't pull punches. I'm pretty direct. I do it with love. Let's be clear. I think, well, bossy with love, whatever term you want to use. I don't fall into the rescuing trap. Because again, there's a time and distance between us when we see each other again. So I know that they are the ones. Also, let's be real. I coach entrepreneurial leaders and entrepreneurial owners of companies. So they don't really want me to tell them what to do, but I will ask them provocative questions. I will challenge the status quo of their thinking, and I will encourage them. It's like, you've got this. You can figure this out. I know you can. So that's fun. And I love the term, how will you do it? Will activates the conation part of your mind. It's not just what do you want to do? What do you think you should do? And should is an automatic gap word where you're measuring yourself against an ideal rather than progress. It's more like, what will you do? How will you do this? And the will question is so incredibly useful. Shout out to my friend and client, Marlene Chisholm, because she has this great question. Would you be willing? And that is such a cool question. So it gets people out of where they were stuck and into, a new course of action. So my bottom line with this is really familiarize yourself with the drama triangle, the Cartman drama triangle. I want you to develop really good sensors, really good antenna for when you hear persecuting language, when you hear victim language, and when you hear rescuer language. And that can be coming out of someone else's mouth or your own. And oh, by the way, no one sits in any one of those seats. They don't only sit in one of those seats. If you're the victim, at some point you'll become the rescuer, and then you're going to feel persecuted. So the truth is, if you're in the drama triangle, it's like one of those negative spirals going down. Not particularly productive. It doesn't go anywhere useful. If it worked, I'd be like, go for it. But it doesn't, right? And again, this is human. But applying it to business, we can get into some real traps with this. So you, as a leader, I want you to pull out your leadership chops here. And I want you to think about, okay, creator, challenger, coach. So when you've got that antenna, when you are listening for language where someone is putting authority outside of themselves, like no one ever told me, no one asked me, oh, I didn't know. I'm sounding whiny on purpose, not meaning to trigger anybody, but you've heard these things too. And it's like, oh, well, what could you have done about this? What would you be willing to do differently next time? That's a good coaching question. Versus, oh my gosh, I can't believe they didn't ask you. Let's march over there right now and make sure they hear you out. Will you make a little bit of progress? Maybe, but probably you will just actually come across as a jerk and as a persecutor and someone who's blaming. Instead, you want to put that back on the person and go, okay, what could you have done differently to get a different result? And that's our job. Otherwise, we'd be doing all the jobs. Our job is to have other people take action towards our bigger future, towards your goal, towards that result we're all aligned on achieving, and helping people get there their best way. And the way to do that is ask people, what would you be willing to do? How would you be willing to do this? Can you see what your part of this was? And have people learn to take that internal ownership of their circumstances. It's not always easy. And sometimes there is a pile of junk of stuff that did land on them. And you're like, okay, did you have any contribution to this circumstance? Or are you just completely the victim like a turtle on your back, waving your arms and legs around? Is that the circumstance? And they're like, well, actually, I did not do this part of it, or I did send this email, or I was a little bit snarky, or I didn't have a good timeline. Then they'll start to admit their small portion of ownership of it, or they might go, yeah, I totally messed this one up. Okay, good to know. Take responsibility, say what you'll do differently next time, and let's move on. That's all really anyone wants to hear. It's really interesting, with a few exceptions. Once other people take full responsibility, we are willing to give grace. I know I get loud, and there are probably some other less flattering words. When I see people not taking ownership, does it ever irk me? It bothers me like nobody's business. To me, it's like, ugh. And if I point it out to them and they still don't pick it up, do I expect people to be perfect? No, I do not. However, I do expect people to take responsibility, which one of the definitions means able to respond. If someone shirks that and is not able to respond, I can't work with you. I need a human who's going to actually grab hold and be a partner with me. I actually can't do everything that's required to get done to produce the results I want, but I want someone who I can count on, to either count on to do it or count on if they attempt it and it doesn't work out well. They're like, oh my gosh, I blew it. I've learned what to do differently next time. I've got it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Great. We'll do better next time. No big deal. I'm going to move on. But if you don't do that, oh my gosh, sticks in my craw. You're probably very similar. So the number one person you want to coach is yourself. Is there an area of your life where you are not taking full responsibility, where you're not acknowledging that you might just have had something to do with that situation that is not to your liking? And then can you acknowledge it as being a challenge? Maybe a challenge you met, maybe one that you struggled with. That's cool. It's all good. So you acknowledge that, and then you can coach yourself, or you can go and ask for help. Going and asking for help is so not a weakness. I think it actually takes enormous courage and commitment to go and ask for help. And oh my gosh, I love helping people. You probably do too. We love being asked for help. What is really hard is trying to help someone who's like, nope, I got this figured out. And you're like, yeah, no, you don't. You're just waiting till there's a worse breakdown. And then it's just messy. That's why it's drama. No drama. Just eliminate drama. So coach yourself, first of all. So do not try and do this on somebody else and then still be in the drama triangle yourself. You will not come across as authentic or effective if you do that. And then take a look at, is there a situation where you're feeling like you're either in the persecutor or the victim or the rescuer seat. If that is the case, sit yourself down, have a little, scribing conversation with yourself, do a little writing, do a little thinking, talk out loud if you need to, and then just acknowledge to yourself that there's probably a bigger picture here that you need to take into account, and then take action on that. So do that with yourself and then start doing that for other people. Where are you getting trapped in any one of those 3 rules? And then employ the empowerment dynamic instead. And you'll be amazed how much more quickly things get resolved, how much you are no longer running around playing whack-a-mole, solving everyone else's problems. They are empowered now to solve them for themselves. You've got a very clear, acknowledging, responsible, capable, creative team who pulls off miracles, occasionally doesn't, can quickly figure out what went wrong because after all, they know that they helped create the situation, acknowledge the challenge, even if it was unexpected or from the outside, think, okay, this is how we're going to respond to this next time. And they coach themselves and they coach one another. Wouldn't that be an awesome team that you're leading? Again, starts with you. Coach yourself, and then you can go to work on coaching other people. So I wanted to bring this up because I don't know about you, but there's lots of drama out there. I don't mind drama on television or in a play that I, am enjoying to watch on my downtime. I do not want to be working with drama. I just want to get stuff done. So I wanted to bring this up because I thought it was useful, something that I've been running into, both with myself and others, and I just want that to be useful for you. So please take a look at that. Go do a little extra of a deep dive if you've got some Colby Fact Finder to rub together. Take a look on the images on Google. You'll see some great diagrams, and I'm looking at one right now. And then employ it for yourself. Take a little notebook, write down some thoughts on it. You'll have some fun. And definitely listen to my interview with David Emerald or grab the book. It's a great story that outlines the principles beautifully. And it's just one of those things you want to have in your head. We are dealing with humans. So if you are dealing with humans, then the dreaded drama triangle, as it's also known, will raise its head. This also, by the way, applies to your personal life. And if you have a way to transform it into the empowerment dynamic, you are then superpowered. So this is what I want for you. All right. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know at questions@strategicoach.com. And as always, here's to your team success.